Bia, where you at? Where you at? Bia,
That's me.
Bia.
That's me.
Bia.
Yeah, that's me. What's up, Bia Gang, and welcome to Zakia Chanel Podcast. This isn't just a regular podcast. It's a place where we can let down our guards and be our authentic selves. So let's talk about it. The real, the tough, and the funny conversations. At the end of each episode, I want you to walk away feeling better than you did at the start. All right, enough of me talking. Breathe in, breathe out. Now let's get into the episode. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Woo! I can't believe I'm saying that. This is actually very crazy. But welcome back. Welcome to season 3 of Zakia Chanel Podcast. Welcome all of my new listeners, my new watchers that are listening to my podcast or either watching my podcast. Welcome. I hope that you all enjoyed this first episode of season 3. Welcome back to all of my listeners, my Bia gang from back then. We're back now again with another video. And I'm super geeked about this season and just everything that I have in store, not just for the podcast, but for Zakia Chanel business altogether. So I can't wait to share different things with you all that will be coming up soon. But for now, let's go ahead and get straight into this episode. So first, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, or I'm going to try to be doing it. But you guys know I love my wine. So, of course, cheers to a new year, to new beginnings and everything. Right here is just Moscato. So we're just keeping it very basic basically today. But for each episode, I'm going to try to have a different type of wine that I'm drinking and let you all know if it was a yay or a nay. But anyway, so welcome. Before we get straight into the episode, I do want to go ahead and do our praise break. So for my new listeners or watchers, praise break is a time for us to just say what we're grateful for, what we're thankful for, some things that has been going great in our life so far. And then next episode, we bring it back again with another praise break. So my praise break is I am super excited that God has given me the passion to start my podcast back up. I'm super excited for what's in store with my podcast and just being able to push myself with different things that I have that I really want to do with the podcast. And then I'm just super excited of my brand altogether and what God has placed in my heart to do this year. I'm just excited for all of this altogether. So that's my praise break. In the comments or anything, let me know what is your praise break for this episode. So for this episode 1, we're going to talk a little bit about 2023 and how we are going to change our mindset or how we're going to do things a little bit different for 2024. So I have asked people give me some questions. I've also found some questions, and so I'm going to answer them right now. So this is not how an ordinary episode goes. Usually I'm talking about some type of topic, but today we're going to just breeze in a little bit, just come in real smooth, so that you all can get to know me or know what's been going on in my life, because it has been a while. So let's get straight into these questions. Let's see how this Moscato tastes. Okay, it's a Moscato. So, first question. I also want you all to also answer these questions if you feel like it, or if you want to leave a comment on what some aspirations or goals that you have for yourself. I'm trying to stay away from the goal or New Year resolution and all of those terms. I kind of want to say my aspirations, because this is something that I aspire to do and something that I'm already working on or gearing up to work on. So first question, what was the single best thing that happened this past year? So the single best thing that happened this past year, I would say, is my nephew. So my sister had a baby in January 27th, and so we're about to be celebrating his birthday soon. But yes, that's the single best thing that has happened since 2023. He has just brought so much joy into like my heart, the family. He's literally like my everything. Now I understand what people say when they say like, you know, having a child, even though he's not mine, but having a child is a different type of love than you have for like anybody else. And so I can only imagine the type of love I'm going to have for my kids, because the love I have for him is something I would have never imagined in life. So that's mine. Number 2, what was the single most challenging thing that happened this year or past year? So the single most challenging thing, okay, so my single most challenging thing that happened this year is, so I see another question, so they're kind of like tied into, but single most challenging thing I would say is leaving my old job. And I would say that that's just really challenging because I wanted to stay there because it was comfortable, something that I was used to, something that I knew that I was good at, that I was great in. And so it was challenging because I knew it was time for me to start something new, start going to a different type of journey, a different type of lane with my career. And I knew it was challenging just because I had to really, really put myself out there more than I ever before, and just take a leap of faith and see what happened. And so that was challenging because I did not know what was to come with that. That leads to the next one. What was an unexpected joy this past year? So unexpected joy this past year is getting my new job. So I'll get to the story maybe one time later on, but basically short story is that I applied for a job. I didn't get it at first, but then a few weeks later they called back and then I got the job. And it was a joy because during that time I had already put in my notice to my other job, and had already had plans of leaving. And I had something kind of as like a backup of what my other job would possibly be, but I also knew that that probably wasn't best for me. And so that was the most joy, because receiving a no from a job and then getting a call back saying, oh, actually you got the job or we want you, it's like, wow, okay. So it was joy because it was something that I've never imagined. I've only been here now for maybe like 4 months. And it's the best thing. Like, I never really experienced the whole like coworker vibe, and like having coworkers throughout the whole entire day that you're working with and doing different things with. And so it's just been so great. They have been wonderful. I love literally like all my coworkers. They're the best. I love my team. I love what I'm doing. I love the learning that has to be a part of the job that I'm learning, and just really getting a good feel of like higher education and what that is, and being in the rooms that I did not imagine that I would be in. And so just like networking and everything, it has been such a great joy. Next question. What was an unexpected obstacle? Okay, so an unexpected obstacle I would say is losing my grandfather. I lost him March 3rd, 2023. And that was an unexpected obstacle because he wasn't like sick. Nothing was like, like he was getting older, obviously, but like there was nothing of like, oh, this is a health risk. You're going to have so many more months to live, or, he's about to start like maybe passing away in a year or so. Like there was no signs, no nothing that was said of, hey, this is getting ready to happen. So it was an unexpected obstacle because no one had planned it. How it happened wasn't like the most joyous thing in the world. And it was an obstacle because I did not get the chance to say goodbye how I wanted to, or just be able to be like knowing that, okay, these are my last few moments with my grandfather. Like, it was literally as if, say that just anything you could put whatever it is, like your house, a job, a relationship for kids, a toy, whatever it is. Just imagine that you have this thing that you absolutely love, and it was literally like snatched away from you with no explanation, no heads up, no nothing, and you know that you're never going to get it back. Like, so that was the unexpected obstacle, and just like dealing with grief altogether, and then this being like extra grief on that. So going through the healing stages now as we speak. So yeah. Next question, number 5. Pick 3 words to describe this past year. Ooh, 3 words. Let's take a drink to that. 3 words to describe this past year. I really don't like these questions because I feel like I pick bad words, and then when someone else answers the question, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great, wonderful word. But I would say my 3 words would be, first is evolved. And I would say that's one of my words to describe this past year, because I did a lot of like evolving, where it wasn't me changing or anything like that, but evolving, being the same person I am right now, but being a better version of myself, and evolving in the aspect of really diving into what I want in life, learning that I have to be the best me, not just for myself, but for the people that's attached to me in life. And then this past year was really evolving just in the aspect of like everything I had to go through. Like, I evolved as a woman and knowing who I am. I evolved and believing more in myself, taking chance on myself, doing things that I've never like ever did before, which I think leads to like my next word is personal. This past year was very personal. I'm so used to being around people all the time. I'm so used to like not really talking to people or opening up as much, but just knowing like that I can hopefully hopefully depend on people, or just knowing like, okay, some people are going to be there for you. But this past year was very personal. God isolated me a lot, and I was basically like I was just in the forest by myself. Like, it was very personal, where I had to do a lot of self-reflection for myself, where I couldn't turn to get answers from people. That's the thing. Not that I'm so used to just depending on people, but I'm so used to certain people having an answer for me. And God pulled me away from all of that, where I had to go find my answers from Him. And that took me having to like deal with myself. And I will also say it was personal because for once in my life, I realized that my life is so much bigger than what I think it is. And that I have so much to give to this world, and that I have to stop being so fearful or so hesitant about what if, but really, really saying, look, you can do this. Like, it may not be easy, it may not be the best of the best, but like, you can do it if you really, really want to. And so it was personal because I really like took a chance on myself for once, and I really loved on myself, gave myself so much self-love, which, let's think about the third word, which leads to, okay, challenging. And I would say challenging because all of these words sound so good, like self-love and working on myself and evolving and being a better version of myself. But if we really, really want to be honest, it's challenging. Trying to be a better version of yourself, trying to heal, trying to really do good work for a better outcome is challenging. It's not easy. And so this past year was very challenging. It challenged God challenged me, like, do you really believe in me? Do you really believe in me? Like, do you really have faith and trust in me? And that was challenging because, we can say, yes, yeah, I got this faith. Yeah, I got trust. But, like, do you really, when it comes down to not having anything or not having anyone around you, do you still believe in me? Do you still trust me? So challenging in that aspect of, like, spiritual. It was challenging in really having to, like, take time for myself and be by myself, because sometimes I don't like sitting in a room by myself because I feel like I'd be so in tune. Like, I think so much of what is happening in my brain, and I realize that it's okay now to have those thoughts and really, really think and be by yourself and let your thoughts flow. But that was challenging at one aspect, or not even at one time in my life, last year. And then challenging in the fact that, like I said, like, I lost my granddad, like basically like a second dad, literally. And so, like, that was challenging. Losing relationships or relationships changing and not having no type of control over it, but just allowing God to just let it change, let it die, let it rebirth, whatever it is, but letting that new thing come about and having to just face it, whether I liked it or not. And then challenging also because I realized that I have to be what I want other people to be to me. Like, I want people to have a safe space with me. I want people to open up to me. But, like, are you being a safe space for other people? Are you opening up to other people? Because sometimes I think that we're like, oh, it's a safe space for this person to open up to me. But sometimes you have the ability to allow that space to be safe for that person. But what about that person doesn't feel safe for the simple fact that you're not opening up the way that they just opened up to you? Like, you're still closed off. You still have a wall up. And so it was challenging because I had to realize, like, okay, Kia, you need to let this wall down. And then, yeah, I would say that. So evolved, personal, and challenging are my 3 words for this past year. What were the best books you read this year? Okay, so best books. First book is called Believe Bigger. So actually, I am just finishing up with it. So I've been reading this book for a long time. But I'm happy that I took a pause when I did, because I took a pause and I started reading something else, which I'm going to get into with the second. What my other best book was. But once I started reading this book and then I went back to Believe Bigger, my eyes were open. I started understanding things better, because Believe Bigger, I can't think who the author is right now, but Believe Bigger is a book about your self-worth journey, your purpose, your calling, but not just so much of like, this is your purpose, this is your calling, but it talked about like talents, gifts, your roadmap, your personal map in life, how to be you. It talked about just her journey as well, and so like her journey was mushed in with everything that she was talking about. So overall, it's literally a great book. Like, I highly recommend. I got it off of Amazon, but Believe Bigger. Then my other book that I read this year is the Bible, which I'm still like reading, but I took a different approach. Usually, like, I'm just doing my devotions and all of that good stuff. And I did try a while back to do like, okay, let's read the Bible from the beginning. And I was like, this isn't working. I just realized that it wasn't working because I wasn't in the mindset for it. So I took another chance and I was like, let's start reading the Bible from literally the beginning. You're going to have a personal journal literally just for you reading the Bible. So everything that speaks to you, everything that jumps out at you, you're going to write it down. You're going to track it. You're tracking your journey of reading the Bible, which has been so helpful because it's like now I'm starting to really understand the Bible. I'm really starting to like comprehend and put it into life situations. But just understanding like the Bible, literally understanding the stories. Like we hear stories from when we're in church or wherever we're at. Like for me, when I was going to my private school or my Bible studies, like you would hear the different stories, but you only hear little parts of it just because they're like, oh, go read it for yourself, or you should already know the story or whatever. So me being able to read it for myself and really like dive into it was really great. Sorry y'all for like the little sniffle. My sinuses are like terrible today. But anyway, so those are my best books I read this past year. And some new books that I want to read is Sarah Jake's book, All Hope or All Hope, All Hope is Found, by Sarah Jakes Roberts. I really want to read that book. Another book is called, I believe, like Unexpected or Unoffendable. And I think I wrote down who Unoffendable is by Ryan Leak. So, All Hope is Found and Unoffendable are two books that I want to start off reading. I do have some other books that I bought that I want to read as well, but those are like my top two books. But All Hope is Found is Sarah Jakes Roberts. I'm not sure like what the gist of it fully is, but All Hope is Found. But I bought it at her conference this past year. And I've read her other two books as well before this one. And then The Unoffendable, I bought that actually when I bought the Believe Bigger book. But Unoffendable is basically saying like a way to kind of not be offended by things or looking at it from a different aspect. So I'm really, really like geeked of reading that book. But if y'all have any like book requests or like books that y'all think that I should read or that y'all love, that y'all read from this past year or is on your list to read this year, please let me know, because that's one of like my 2024 aspirations is to read more books this year. Like really, really read more books. So yeah, my next thing or next. All right. Before we continue our conversation, make sure to follow me on all of my personal social media accounts to stay updated on what I am doing. You can follow me on Instagram at _KiaZ, _KIAAZ. You can follow me on Facebook at Kia Brewer. You can follow me on Snapchat at FabulousKia_4. Or you can follow me on TikTok as Zakia Brewer. But make sure that you follow our podcast page as well on Instagram as Zakia Chanel Podcast. Okay, so where do we leave off at? So the next question is, who were your most valuable relationships with? So please, y'all, don't take no offense to this for people who know me personally, because I have a lot of valuable relationships. Like my siblings are always going to be like my top valuable relationships. I'm going to say my sis Reese is also like was my most valuable relationship, because I just feel like her and I grew together, not just like in our relationship, I grew closer because we were already like super duper close, but we grew as like people together. Like we pushed one another. Like she was really like my accountability partner, low key this year. And And she really like took this journey with me of like really self-work without us really saying like, oh, let's do this self-work thing together. It was just like she was working on herself, I was working on myself, and we were able to talk to each other about it. And then also my sis T, I would say, also was like a very valuable relationship. Just because her and I just like click. We click. She know everything I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. And so I feel like it's just so much easy to like talk to her. But also sometimes like I don't even have to tell her what's going on in my life or what's happening. Like when we're talking, sometimes like she could just be talking about what's going on in her life or just talking in general. And in that conversation, I leave with so much knowledge. And I just leave with like a better view of whatever I may have been dealing with. The next person I would say is my girl, my soul sister, Nisha. So I literally actually met Nisha before, so 2023, end of 2022, around like October-ish. Was it October? Yeah. I feel like it was October. It might have been, no, it can't be September. So it had to be like around October. I met Nisha 2022. And I had met her actually because she was going to be a volunteer for my mentorship program that I do, Princess to Queens. And so we had connected because she was going to be volunteering. She was going to be in one of my groups that I was doing. And so like we wanted to like get to know each other and everything. And I love to like get to know all of the volunteers that will be helping out. So anyway, boom, we met. And then, I don't know, y'all, it's just like, you know how some people, it's like you have to try to make a friendship work where y'all are growing to really like get to know each other. So like you may deal with different challenges through your relationship and friendship. But baby, with her, no. Like Nisha knew me back of my hand. Like she knew literally everything about me before I even like say anything to her. So our first like hang out together, we just clicked, we just laughed, talked, ate the whole entire time. And then from there, like she literally was just like my soul sister, like there for me. Like she was very like valuable in my spiritual growth. She pushed me more than she know that she pushed me. And she was there as a listening ear. Like I craved more than I knew for just somebody to just be there for me, praying behind closed doors when I didn't know that they were praying for me, just everything. And that was her. Like she would text me some mornings like, hey, have a great day. Like, girl, how did you know like I was going through something today? Or I love you, or you good today, and vice versa. Like me being able to like just call her and check up on her. And so it was just like a friendship that did not feel like we had to put no work in. We just knew what each other needed. And that was literally like a God sending friendship. Literally. Like now I see what it means for God to literally send somebody there right when you need them. And because 2023 was so challenging, that was like a perfect person to put into my life during that time. And I love my girl. That's my baby. The next person I would say is Nicole. So that is my mentor. But this past year, Nicole, I mean, obviously, like she has always been there for me. But I think 2023, our relationship grew because we had like a few little hiccups here and there or whatever. But we really like was like, if we want this to work, like mentor mentee, or if it's meant to work, like we gotta give this thing a chance, for real. And so she was just so valuable. Like she's always there, literally like anything. I could talk to her from like the hardest conversation to the most silliest conversation, and I know that she's going to always respond to a text message. She's going to always respond to a call. She's literally there anytime like I need her. Like there's no question. Like it's never like, will Nicole be there for me? Even when she can't physically be there because of something else may be happening or occurring or at the same time, I know like she's there no matter what. And so she was there for me like days just needed to cry, days just needed to laugh, just anything. Like a person who would pull up like, you ready to get up out the house today and do something, type vibe. So I love her. She was so valuable throughout my whole 2023. And then the last I would say is my parents, because I feel like this was really like the last year where our relationship turned to like parent kid to like adult to parent. And so I just feel like we matched on a different type of level. Like I've always been close to my parents, but this past year I grew a different closeness to them. And I think that they really like learned more about me low key last year. And just like me growing into like a woman and being able to like go to my parents to ask them real life questions and just being able to just talk to them, period, was really great. And like I said before, my siblings, because like my sister and brother can't have better siblings than them two. Like they're the best. So yeah. Next question. Let's wind this up. What was your biggest personal change from January to December of this past year? Your biggest personal change. Okay, from January to December, my biggest personal change would be, like I was saying before, like really believing in myself and taking a leap on myself, taking a leap on God and my faith, and really like going after what I want going after what I want for myself, and not for what other people want for me. And really like growing my relationship with God was really like a big personal change, which happens to help me feel like even through my hardest days or days where it's like really hard to just do life, having this strong relationship with God allows me to just smile through it all. And I see that that's the difference from happiness and joy. Like something happened, your happiness can literally like just be turned. But when you got joy, it don't literally matter what's happening in your life. Like you got joy because you know that God got you no matter what. You know that God is there for you. You know that this is a lesson, or this is something that you need to go through, or this is something great that's happening for you, or this is something that is supposed to touch or help someone else out. So when you start to learn those different things and have that relationship with God, you start to see like the joy of life. In what ways or way did you grow emotionally? How I grew emotionally, I would say literally opening up more. I think I opened up so much in 2023 than I've ever done. I know I still got a lot of work to do, but I'm just learning that opening up doesn't mean that you have to say literally everything that's on your mind or have to give everybody your whole history of your life. But opening up is just having like discernment and understanding of when to open up and how to open up. And just knowing when it's safe to open up and when it's like, nah, they don't need to know all of that. And then I would say also, just like becoming aware of my feelings, which I see myself like very in tune with who I am, and understanding like my feelings, what's happening, because we all have feelings. Our feelings are fickle, like they can change in a snap. But really being in tune with yourself and with your emotions, you're starting to see like, oh, I'm feeling sad because of X, Y, and Z. I'm feeling happy because of this. I'm feeling love because this happened. So just really like being in tune with my emotions, which helps me to also not react so much to certain things, which I'm still working on. I think that I'm good in the outside world, but my family get hit more with it than other people. But just like understanding to not react to everything right away, but really take it in and observe it, because sometimes like I would either react, which is more to my family. To outside people, I wouldn't react so much. I would just take it in, but also once I took it in, I would play victim to myself, or I would just be like me, or sad, or whatever the case is. But really like reacting or understanding when to react, and also being okay to share my feelings with people of how I feel about something, and knowing like that it's not confrontation, it's just explaining how you feel and what this situation meant for you. All right. Last question. Ooh. Okay. In what ways did you grow spirit? Oh, this is whoa. I don't think I'm getting through all this, y'all. In what ways did you grow spiritually? I would say like my ways is that first reading the Bible, so that I grew a different type of relationship with God, understanding the importance of praying and how I still need to do way better than what I'm doing now with prayer. And then me going to like a conference last year was so great because I took a chance on myself. Like that was the first time I was like, I want to go to this conference for me, whether someone is with me or not. I'm going to go because I know that this is where I feel I need to go right now in my life. And then yeah, just like having like that intimate relationship with God and really being intentional on what I listen to, what I hear, what I do, fasting, all of those things played a part in my spiritual growth this past year, and being serious about it all, not for the play. All right, we're going to do like a few more questions and then we're going to call it a day. All right, in what ways did you grow physically? Ooh. So physically, I worked out with more specific goals. So I used to just work out, like, oh, I'm about to work out. But I started to understand, okay, let me work out my abs, or let me work on my abdominal area for this amount of days, or let's do more, let's do like a arm workout or a leg workout or a glute workout. So just being more intentional on what I was doing, or I need to do yoga because it's the middle of the week and I want to stretch, or it's the beginning of the week, I want to get my week started this type of way. So that, and then also running another 5K this past year. So each year my dad and my line sister T, we do a 5K run downtown. So I did that again, and I did actually better this year, and I didn't even train for it. So this year, I'm going to actually train and do a little bit better so that I can actually run the 5K even better. And then also I plan on doing 2 5Ks this year, not just one. Hope is that one day I can get to the 10K. So, in what ways did you grow in your relationship with others? I grew in my relationship with others by just like being honest, like I said before. Really, like if I have something that's on my chest, being able to say it without it having to be like a thing, and being more comfortable in different relationships of like just who I am, and knowing like that I don't need to change for nobody, be me, and if somebody can't take me for who I am, then find a new friend. And also the last thing I would say about growing my relationships with others is just the expectations of it. We sometimes like have so much expectations of what we want in a friendship. I need this person to do X, Y, and Z, but just knowing as we're getting older that expectations change as we change as people, as our life change. What once they could do for you, maybe they can't do in this life right now, or this journey that they're in. And so just understanding like the season that somebody else may be in, and that they may not be able to do that expectation that you're used to or that you want them to do. And then also sometimes just because you are a certain way to one friend does not mean that that's the way that they're supposed to reciprocate for you. So for instance, I may be a listening ear to one friend, but maybe they're not supposed to be a listening ear for me. Maybe my other friend is supposed to be more of a listening ear. So just understanding how each relationship and friendship is different and not putting everybody in one box. What was the most enjoyable part of your work, both professionally and at home? I don't know about the at home part, but my most enjoyable part of work is from my old job, just being able to complete it the way that I really wanted to. We do like this showcase end of the year thing, so really being able to like have that vision for it and really live that vision out exactly how I wanted it to. letting the kids just keep a smile on my face like they're the best, and just really being more invested in them and understanding how much they depend on me, how much that they need me sometimes, and being okay with that. And so that was the most enjoyable part. And for my new job, just the experience it has for me, the relationships that I'm growing and obtaining through this through this journey of my new job is really, really great, and just excited for like where my career is about to go. What was the most challenging part of my job? I would say leaving it. That wasn't the cutest or best way that things could have ended. More on their end than my end. Honestly, all the way on their end, nothing on my end. So that was very challenging, and just like trying to maneuver through that. And then the other challenge is just like the challenge of like starting this new job, something that I've never ever done before, and just being like, we gonna have to rock with it and see how it goes. So yeah. All right, almost there. What was your single best? Oh wait, no. What was the biggest thing you learned this past year? So I feel like I've already talked about that, but just like trusting God more, not holding grudges when I talk about like the relationship part of understanding different expectations of people. And then just biggest part you learned this year, learning more about who I am, what I want, and loving myself, really, really loving who I am and who I'm becoming or evolving into. Okay, so this last question I actually was prepared for. This is the only one I really wrote down. Okay, so it says create a phrase or statement, and I did not think super hard about this, I promise y'all. Create a phrase or a statement that describes this past year for you. So a phrase or a statement that describes this past year. So the first thing I wrote down is leaves fall off the tree to help start something new. So I wrote this down without the understanding really of like what the point of leaves, like what's the point of leaves falling off the tree and everything, or not really understanding like what happens to the leaves afterwards, like if you don't break them and everything like that. So I did a little bit of like research, and I learned that like when leaves fall off the tree, it gives like the plants a fresh start before the spring comes. And then also like decaying leaves are recycled. So like they're recycled, they go into like the grass and the dirt and stuff. And that helps with like mulch, but also it helps like grow the next leafy generation by the decaying organic material at the base of the tree. So that's so cool. But anyway, that's like the little nerd in me. But yeah, so leaves fall off the tree to help start something new. So just understanding that sometimes like the leaves coming off the tree may seem like things are changing and you can't keep control, or you can't keep hold of everything that's maneuvering and changing and switching in your life, but it's okay, because know that that's a fresh start for you, a fresh start for what is to come in your life, the things that may be surrounded by you that also may be a fresh start. And so just understanding that. But then the other one I wrote down, I was at work and I was like, I don't know, it popped in my head. But the other phrase I would say from this past year is sharpen your pencil so it won't become dull. So just understanding, like, say you're at school and you're writing and you're at your teacher to sharpen your pencil. When you sharpen your pencil and you're actually like writing with a sharpened pencil, everything looks like neat. You can read everything. You can understand everything that's going on. So take that in life, that when you sharpen yourself, sharpen who you are as a person, sharpen your strengths, sharpen the things that you need to change or switch or become better in, that you can see it neatly unfolding in your life. But when you are trying to write with a dull pencil, everything is smudged, everything looks messy. You can't really understand what's on the paper because it's all smudged and it's not sharpened. And that's the same thing in life, is that I understood that when I don't take the time to sharpen who I am or sharpen myself or take time for myself, that it becomes dull, not just in questioning of like who I am as a person, but dull to others around me, like what's going on, or like everything looks all smudged in your life and you can't really understand what's happening because you haven't taken time to sharpen yourself and be the best version. So that is what I took down. And the next segment is Run and Tell That. So for my new listeners or watchers, Run and Tell That is a segment where everything that we talked about from like this episode, this is like a snippet that you can take and go run and tell that to somebody else and share with others.
Run and tell that, run and tell that, run and tell that, homeboy.
And so my Run and Tell That for this week is not just the phrases that I just talked about, like sharpen your pencil so it don't become dull, or when leaves fall off the tree, it starts something new or fresh that can happen. But also just understanding that take time to reflect for yourself, reflect on what's happening in your life, and be okay with change, be okay with yourself evolving and being something new. Allow God to do the work in you, allow God to do the work around you, and other than questioning God of why something is occurring or why this is happening, but start to ask God more of what are you doing in my life right now, or what is this meant to be? What is the reasoning for this happening or occurring? And then also, where do you want me at? So we ask God, why is this? Why are you doing that? Why is that? But God, where do you want me at in the midst of all of this? Because you're supposed to learn something, or you're supposed to be somewhere in the midst of it, or supposed to be teaching something to someone else. So just asking God, like, where am I supposed to be in all of this? So that is my Run and Tell That. Again, I'm super duper excited for this season and what is going to be happening with this season. I hope that you all continue to stay tuned in with me. Make sure you share with your family and friends, loved ones, social media. Just get the word out. I'm super excited for my brand and my business of Zakia Chanel and where that's going to be going this year. And this is going to all be different challenges that will be happening with it, but I'm okay with it. I'm excited. And so I will see you all in my next episode. Peace. Hey, don't leave me hanging. Before you leave, make sure that you subscribe to Zakia Chanel Podcast. You can listen to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Or you can go over to Zakia Chanel TV on YouTube to listen and watch the podcast. Looking for someone to host your event, or you want to learn how to start your own podcast, or you need organizing tips, I'm your girl. You can contact me via email. You can also reach out to me via email if you need any advice on anything at Zakia Chanel Podcast at gmail.com. Remember, it starts with you. Be blessed and take care of yourself.